In this lesson, we are now transitioning to the last type of curve, which we're looking at in statistics, which is a cumulative frequency curve. And it would be a good idea to pause and look at the starter. So how would you interpret the graph in here? So we've seen a cumulative frequency as part of the table before when we were finding the central tendencies. We were adding up the frequencies as we go along. So we will now use these cumulative frequencies to help us graph what we call a cumulative frequency curve. So the cumulative frequency curve helps you find different values and quartiles of your data, and we'll see that it's closely linked with box plots. It's especially helpful when we are trying to find or estimate, not exactly find, but estimate the quartiles when you have a grouped frequency table. So imagine you don't have the raw data, you only have this group frequency table, and we've seen different ways to find the Q1 and Q2 and Q3, but they are not accurate because the answer you give is you have to give the class width as the answer, sorry, the class title as the answer. But what if I want an exact number? Obviously, it won't be an accurate number, but would be an estimate in there. So a cumulative frequency curve helps you with that. So first, before starting graphing the cumulative frequency curve, you have to find the cumulative frequencies here. So what happens here is you're adding up the numbers as you go along and go back to how we interpret these values. So if I'm at 52, it means that 52 values are 30 and below. And if I'm at 73, it means 73 values are at 40 and below. So it's taking into account all of these values, not just 30 to 40. And the last value has to be you adding up all the frequencies. So to check that you're doing it correctly, the last value in the cumulative frequency column should be equal to the total frequency. So some features, let's talk about this before we start doing the graph. The cumulative frequency is on the y-axis, and then the variables are on the x-axis, and we represent them using a normal scale. You plot the initial point of the graph by taking the lowest boundary of the lowest class, so in this case it would be 0, and plotting it against 0. Okay, so not at 1, you will plot it against 0. So the lowest class will be plotted with 0, and then you will start plotting the upper classes with the cumulative frequency. So these will go together, but then the lowest value that you will have will be the lower class with the value 0. Sometimes you will see some cumulative frequency curves that are not connecting to 0, so they only have these values and these values without the lower boundary, but there are some that connect the lowest value with 0. So the lower boundary of the lowest class with 0. Now each cumulative frequency curve is plotted against the upper boundary, as we said. So you will be taking the upper boundary with the cumulative frequency. And the cumulative frequency associated with the highest class must be the same as the total frequency. So what we said about this 80. And finally, all the points that are joined to you, join them using a smooth curve and not a sharp line. And this curve is called an ogive. And then again, we recall percentiles as we've done before. So a percentile is we've done quartiles, but now we're generalizing it to percentiles, is a score below which a certain percentage of data lies. So if I'm telling you I want the 85th percentile, it means the scores below which 85% of the data lies. So if you select a value and it's at for example, the value is 7 and this is the 85th percentile, it means 7 and below represent 85% of the data. If your score in a test is at the 95 percentile, the 95% of the class scored less than you. So we're always looking at less than that value. The lower quartile is the 25th percentile, therefore, so that's the equivalence now. The median is the 50th percentile, and the Q3 is the 75th percentile. So cumulative frequency are more convenient to find percentiles and the Q1, Q2, Q3 specifically. Now for the formulas to find Q1, Q2, Q3, we will now change them up. We've done this before, but we're now doing it again. Because we are estimating and we don't have the raw data, we're not going to do the n+1. The n+1 was there because we can accurately find the exact position of each of the quartiles. But in this case now, because we're estimating, so we just look at, if I want Q1, I'll just look at n over 4. That will give me the position, not actually Q1, but just the position of Q1. So the position of Q1 divided by 2 will give me the position of Q2, and times 3 over 4 will give me the position of Q3. So let's have a look at the table we had a few slides ago. So this would be the cumulative frequency, the number of laps, and then you start to graph. So as we said, the initial point will be 0, plotted with the lowest class, which is 0, and then I will start with 10 and 1. So I have it somewhere here, 10 and 1, and then I have 20 and 21. 20 and 21 will be somewhere here, and so on. So you start plotting your curve as you go along, and this is what you get. And then we can answer questions such as, can I find the median? So the median, I need to take my n value, which remember is the total frequency. So if I want the median, the position of the median is going to be n over 2. So 80 over 2, which will give me, I'll just write 80 over 2, which would give me 40. So the position of my median is at 40. So it's the 40th number. And remember, cumulative frequency tells you how many numbers are building up there. So I'll make sure that you take a ruler, and I'll go, and as soon as I hit my line, I go down and I try to find the equivalent value here. And that value is going to be my median. So in this case, it's going to be 26. And then for Q1, I'll do the same, but this time I'll divide by 4. Or you can have a look at the lower part, and it's the middle of the lower part, which is 20. And if I go and hit my line, it's going to be 20. And then same thing with Q3, and they can find the interquartile range. So you can see a bit more clearly here, the lines are drawn. So using the lines, I can see Q3 was at 60. And then it also gave me 34. So then the interquartile range is 34 minus 20, which is 14. We could not do this process before when we just had the table because we could only identify Q1 and Q3 as classes. But now that we can actually find the values, I can then find the interquartile range and talk more about the data. For exams, make sure that you don't erase these lines because sometimes they're used to prove that you've done the calculations. We can then answer even further questions. For example, estimate the number of people that run more than 36 laps. So this is important when questions say more than, because remember that cumulative frequency curves or percentiles always look at less than values. So 36 laps, let's have a look at where 36 is. It would be here. So if someone ran 36 laps, this is the value. And this value would be 65. So what does the 65 represent? It means 65 people. People ran less than 36. Remember that cumulative frequency will always tell you less than. Remember these values, if I said 52, it means 52 people ran less than 30. So 65 that corresponded to the 36 represented that 65 people ran less than 36. Now the question wants more than 36 laps. So I'm looking at the people that ran, that are here, which corresponds to the people here. So how many people are here? You'll have to do 80 minus 65, which will give you 15. So 15 people ran this portion of the graph. So question 3 says, find the 60th percentile, and this is where we will use the formula for percentile. You can see it a few slides ago or in the box and whisker lesson. So it's like taking the percentage, basically, nothing too new. So you're taking 60% of your data. So we have 60% of 80, that will give you the position that you need for the data. So we have, it will be the 48th number. So if I go to 48 here, it will be somewhere here. And then I can match it with my graph and see this number will represent the 60th percentile. It means that 60% of the people ran this value or less. So I just have the answers here. So it's the 48th position. So about 30 laps. So I've rounded it up here, but if you have a more accurate scale, use the more accurate numbers here. Sometimes marking schemes will allow for a boundary. So if you have the accurate answer, just go a bit more accurate. It should be a bit less than 30. So 30 represents the 60th percentile. It means 30, so it means 60% ran 30 laps or less. Remember, it's always or less for cumulative frequency curves. And then how do we connect it to box plots? So cumulative frequency curves, you can easily find your minimum, your maximum, your Q1, your Q2, your Q3. Just be careful with the minimum, is that this will not be the minimum. The minimum will be the first value that is plotted here. So again, sometimes graphs will not have this behavior happening. So the minimum will be at 10, maximum will be at 50, and so on. And then on the same scale, if I copy it down, I can plot my box plot here. Which means that sometimes you will get graphs that have cumulative frequency and box plots, and then you have to match them together. So this is a visual representation that they actually match up nicely. So you should see the same type of behavior happening in both if you match up the scales. All right, and then some questions for you to go through. They're split into different slides so that they're easier to visualize. And some extra questions here also.